My name is Mike Goldberg, and it's great to be back here in this beautiful city in the UK. We got the Octagon open tomorrow night, our main event, the Filipino wrecking machine, Mark Munoz, against the original bad boy from The Ultimate Fighter, Chris the Crippler Lieben. Seriously? That's it? Do you know it's like 5 a.m. in my body, and that's all I'm going to get right now? Hey, what's going on, everybody? How about a big round of applause for the UFC back? Thank you, seriously, because I have no idea. I keep calling home and getting yelled at. You can't call home at 4 in the morning. Well, it's not 4 in the morning. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, hon. Anyway, it's great to be here. Looking forward to a great event. Looking forward to seeing, you know, one guy I'm really looking forward to seeing tomorrow is Terry Edom. Terry Edom, UK. Terry Edom from Liverpool. Terry Edom is a guy who I love watching him fight, and to see him healthy, and I talked to him yesterday at the hotel, he is jacked up to put on a show for you guys tomorrow night. So big round of applause for Terry Edom. We're all kind of bummed out about Paul Taylor, a little bit of a car accident, but Paul's fine. Unfortunately, we won't get to see Paul fight in the Octagon with Anthony Njokuani, and I can tell you what, that was a fight that Joe Rogan and I were really jacked up about, because you're talking about two guys who will literally stand in the middle of the Octagon and rip it. And the one thing about Paul Taylor, there's a handful of guys that always, what I say, make my job easy. Paul Taylor is relentless, and Paul Taylor makes my job very easy. So a little round of applause for a quick recovery for Paul Taylor. Got a couple of Brits like Vaughn Lee making their UFC debut. We've got a couple of great battles. The Bear's back, Rob Broughton, back inside the Octagon to fight tomorrow night. All in all, it's a great card. It's a very interesting middleweight matchup. And I was talking to Mark Munoz yesterday, and Mark has a game plan, of course, All-American wrestler, national champion back in the States, and he's facing off against Chris Lieben. And if anybody in here does not know who Chris Lieben is, you must leave right now. Exit the building, please. Because he's been here for a long time. He's fought. It's amazing now that I look at guys like Koscheck and Lieben and even our special guest today, and they're up around 17, 18, 19 fights in their career inside the Octagon. The UFC record is shared by Matt Hughes and Tito Ortiz at 25 fights. So that tells you how long these guys have been around. Munoz says he has a plan. One part of his plan is not to play Rock'em Sock'em Robots with Chris Lieben, because Lieben usually wins that battle. So that's tomorrow night. It's our main event, and it's here on pay-per-view back in the States. We also broadcast it, but you're not from the States. I'm not in the States, so you guys probably don't give a shit where it airs in the States, right? That's what I thought. All right, here's how Fight Club works, first of all. Thank you for being out here. UFC Fight Club around the world are our true best fans. They're the ones who look online every day. You guys are the ones who point out every single mistake I make, and I've made like 5 of them total in like 50 years, but you know all. You know, precision is very precise. I know I said it. I know it was stupid. It came out. I couldn't stop it, you know? Everybody in here, you got in a fight with your girlfriend once. Didn't you say something really stupid and wish they didn't hear you? Well, when I say it, like people Twitter. I want to Twitter you, dude. Next time you fight with her, and you say something dumb, I'm going to Twitter you. And go, that was really stupid. So I'm going to do that as well. But here's how Fight Club works. We got some microphones set up. Looks like they're set up over here on this side and that side next to the fine security man here to protect me today. Thank you, sir. And our special guest is one of the most popular. He's one of the most... yeah, I would say he's one of the most outspoken, and he's one of the greatest champions that we have had in UFC history. So it's all about you, Fight Club. You can ask your questions of myself, of our special guest. Let's get things rocking and rolling. Official weigh-ins are at 4 o'clock right in this building. Our special guest today won the Ultimate Fighter as a heavyweight. And he is one of a few men to not only win the Ultimate Fighter, but go on to become a UFC champion. Please welcome the former UFC light heavyweight champion of the world, Sugar Rashad Evans.
1, 1, 2. Check me out right here, yo.
Yo, the sun don't shine forever, but as long as it's here, then we might as well shine together. Better now than never, business before pleasure. P. Diddy and the fam, who you know do it better. Yeah, right, no matter what, be airtight. So when you hear something, make sure you hear it right. Don't make an ass out of yourself by assuming our music keeps you moving. What are you true. You know that I'm 2 levels above you, baby. Love me, baby. I'ma make you love me, baby.
Rashad continues to stay on.
That jealousy is only gonna leave you broke. So the only thing left now is God for these cats.
In the commission, you ask for permission to hit him. He don't like me, him and wild like he was with him.
Rashad Evans.
Please welcome Sugar Rashad Evans. A proud member of the Black Zillions, Sugar Rashad Evans.
What's going on,
I still
everybody? How you
feel
doing?
weird when I say that on the air.
The Black Zillions?
Yeah, I feel like I'm saying something
Like you're
wrong.
saying something wrong?
Yes.
No, I mean, you know, the Black Zillions, I mean, it's just a name. Because when we started our team, it was just, you know, half the team was black and half the team was Brazilian. So we just, you know, Bigfoot's the first one to say it.
Yeah.
He's like, Rashad, it's like half the team is black, half the team is Brazilian. We should call ourselves the Black Zillions. And I was like,
Well, first of all, it's Bigfoot, so whatever he says goes. Secondly, you know, R is H in Brazilian, so I guess
It's
you would be
Rashad.
Rashad, right?
Rashad and
Yeah.
Anthony Rumble Johnson is Humble Johnson. Everybody call him Humble.
And Humble's got a big fight coming up. Humble's going to 85, is what I'm understanding, to fight some kid named the Phenom, huh?
Yeah, this is it's gonna be a big fight
Yeah.
for him, you know. But you know, Anthony, he's a gamer, man. He'll step up to fight anybody.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes when I'm in training camp, he's coming at me. I'm like, man, you should be like a 205 pounder, because he's bigger than me. Most of the time when he walks around, he's like bigger than me. And every single time you ask him how much he weighs, he's always like, oh, I'm at 205. And you can look at him like, dude, I clearly see you weigh at least like 220.
Yes. How about your spar? Okay, this was good, because the other, you know, when he was in the title fight, Gray Maynard, I said, he has walked around, he has been as much as 200 pounds, talking about Gray.
Yeah.
The power lifter. I didn't say he walked like that, although you, Mr. Fight Guy on Twitter, you said I did. He's never been. Okay, when Gray's jacked up and when his knee was hurt and he was just powerlifting,
Yeah.
he was not 190 pounds. He was a little bit more.
Yeah, when Gray, before he started to really get into fighting,
Yeah.
he was massive. He got up to at least like 200, 205 pounds.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
200, at least 200, 205
Twitter that,
pounds.
bitches.
No, he was huge. Gray went to this phase like where he was massive. He like went riding his motorcycle across country, and he was like, he was a biker, and he got big.
Perfect dance. I'll pay you in the back. All right, here's how it works. You can ask any question of myself, any question of Rashad. Microphones are over here. Fight Club's all about you guys. It's funny. I just asked you. I go, what's next? And now between the hand and Lyoto coming in to fight John, and your true answer was.
Shit, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I'm just waiting to see who they give me. You know, what are you gonna do, man? I can't throw a pity party about it. Just fight whoever who they put in front of me. Because I mean, that's what I got to do anyways. If I want to be the best, I got to beat everybody anyway. So it don't matter how they line them up. They all gonna fall down the same.
At first, we talked about, you know, before the opponent changed, but fighting Tito, you needed a time off. You needed to heal some injuries. You needed to get, you know, back to focus mentally and physically. That rest was okay.
Yeah.
Then you came out and fought tremendously. I'm guessing, obviously you broke your hand, but I'm guessing you didn't want another rest on top of that, though. You had already kind of gone through that emotional roller coaster ride.
Yeah, I did not want another arrest. You know, I thought that, you know, once I broke my hand and it was fixed and everything, that once I got the pins out, I'd be able to use my hand like normal. But having my hand in a certain position for so long, I damaged my ligaments and my tendons, and they need to be stretched out again. And it's just a process, just getting everything strong again. So, like in my left hand, when I first got tested about a week ago, I had 145 pounds squeezing pressure in this hand, and I had 10 pounds of squeezing pressure in that hand. So it's a bit weak, but I'm sure it's getting stronger, and I've been doing my rehab to make sure it gets stronger.
I've never really thought about this, and we'll get to some questions, so come on, line up on the microphones if you would, guys. But the little gloves are part of the sport. I mean, that's so you can grapple, that's so the fingers are free. We obviously have some of the greatest guys in the back taping your hands up, but still we see a lot of broken hands, a lot of damaged hands. Is there something we, you know, as a sport can do to try to protect the hands, or is it just, you know, something that happens in the sport?
It's just something that happens in the sport, and it's always going to happen, you know, because when you're wearing those gloves, they're small, like you said, And, you know, you're hitting the head, and sometimes the hardest part in the head is the top of the head, always. And that's why I hit Tito. You know, I was throwing the punch, the overhand, and I was like, okay, I got him. I was lining him up, and I shot it. And as soon as I shot it, he moved in forward, and then my thumb hit him, so it didn't have my knuckles didn't get a chance to come around. And I knew right away I broke my hand because my hand got really, really hot, and I'm just like, dang. And it felt like it was bleeding. That's how it felt, really warm. Right. And I knew something was wrong with it. But I didn't want to say nothing. I didn't want to like give any kind of indication that I broke my hand that fast in the fight.
Crazy though. And Tito has a hard head.
Tito, I mean, his head is big. I mean, you can't really miss it, which is a good thing. The bad thing is you might break your hand.
And we're not being mean to Tito, but if he had a smaller head, he could fight 85.
No, he probably could. I mean.
But he has been tremendous for the sport, and it was a great fight. You were up there first, sir, so go ahead, please fire away.
Hi, Rashad. From your time on The Ultimate Fighter against Rampage, obviously it was a very entertaining Ultimate Fight, and there's a lot of bad blood between you two. Obviously now you've actually fought each other. What is it like behind the scenes when you bump into Rampage now? Is it still all up in each other's faces, or now you've actually fought the guy? Do you get on?
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Like, for his last fight after he lost to John, I actually ended up going to his after party, and I went to going to his after party.
To gloat?
Huh?
To gloat?
No, not at all. It was to pay respects, man, because I wanted him to win and stuff. And, we ended up having a drink and having some laughs, and then before you know it, we were shooting it again. He was like, man, Rashad, you ugly. And I was like, Rampage, you got your ass whooped. And he was like, then we started going back and forth. And then, I mean, it was a good time, but I'm sure whenever I see him again, we're probably going to pick right back off where we left off at, talking trash.
What did you think of Rampage's performance against John? Because he just never seemed to let his hands go, did he? What did you think the game plan was going in for Rampage?
Well, he didn't do the game plan. The game plan was pretty much to close the distance. But what happens when you go against somebody like Rampage, like John Jones, is that he's very creative, and he gets you like getting caught up in watching him be creative. And Rampage does not have the footwork to, watch him be creative, but then get away from anything that he might do. So when he was being creative and looking like he was going to do something, Rampage would sit there and wait for him and watch to see what he was going to do. And then before you know it, he just started just picking him apart.
Okay, thank you, Rashad.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And even in the battle that you had with him, I mean, the one thing about Rampage is he'll fight.
Yeah, he'll fight.
He comes to fight, and Joe commented a lot that night, Rashad, about how he almost became mesmerized in watching this, crazy Matrix fighter of John Jones. And you've been with Winkle John a ton of times.
Right.
He threw more kicks that night, John Jones did, than I think he did his entire career. So every time Rampage tried to come in, boom, he was getting a foot right on the side of his head. That's going to make you a little cautious the next time you walk towards him, isn't it?
No, it is too. But one thing about it that I was hoping that he was going to do is he was going to make him pay every single time. So if he threw a kick, no matter if he, caught the kick or got to or punched him in time, that every single time he knew that he threw a kick, he was going to get a punch.
Right. And
he had to make him pay, and he didn't make him pay. He was checking it, but he didn't make him pay afterwards.
Would your pure wrestling be a huge difference in a fight like that? Take you and put you where Rampage was, the same plan John was. Would your pure wrestling ability be the difference? Your shot, your quickness, your explosiveness?
Yeah, I mean the fact.
At least on paper.
Yeah, on paper, and I think in reality, because of the situation is that I'm more athletic than Rampage.
Right.
And I'm not going to stand there and let John do some of the things he's going to do. I mean, could John catch me with some of the fancy stuff that he does everybody else? Yeah, probably, but if he does, then I'm going to make him pay a little bit. And that's one thing I think that a lot of people don't do. They let him do things, and they don't make him pay. They let him set up and move and do his stuff that he does, but then they don't give him nothing to think about. And if you have a fighter who is just not, you're not giving him anything to think about, you're not giving him, anything to worry about, then he's going to just do what he wants to do.
I think we've had that conversation about some dude at 185 as well, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, that's one thing. See, you follow Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen, when he fought Anderson Silva,
he took the fight to him.
He didn't care what Anderson did. He just went right in and rushed him, closed the space, got in his face, and it was a different fight. He even beat him standing up because of the fact that he just rushed him.
Yeah. That's why I like Nick Diaz, George St. Pierre. Same thing. Yeah, how about Nick Diaz coming back triumphantly? And just for the record, I hope that we haven't seen BJ Penn for the last time because he's a great champion. So big love out to my brother BJ Penn back in Hawaii right now, enjoying the family. And Mirko Cro Cop, you know, it was an honor to call all those fights in Mirko's. It was an absolute honor. And if Cro Cop is done, man, I'll tell you what, one of the greatest fighters in the history of mixed martial arts. So Mirko Cro Cop, thank you very much for all the memories. Crazy times, crazy fights. Next question over here.
Hey guys, thank you for coming to the UK.
Great to be here.
Rashad, you've had both experience with Machida and Jones, with training and fighting. What do you think will be their game plans going into their fight, and who do you think will be the winner?
I think that Machida's game plan is going to be to keep the fight in the center of the octagon at the same time, not stay in front, you know, not stay static. So he's going to be moving, but he's going to stay in the center of the octagon. John Jones' game plan is going to be to get him against the cage, press him against the cage, use his wrestling to take him down and do a little bit of ground and pound, and then let him back up to his feet so then that way he can finish him off on his feet.
Thanks, guys.
It's going to be fun. That's in Toronto, December 10th, only on pay-per-view. Next question over here.
Hi, Rashad. I was just wondering, since your split with Greg Jackson, how has your relationship sort of been with him?
Ever since I split, last time I talked to Greg, it was I was going to the airport and I told him, I said, just so you know, this is when John was going to go and fight Shogun. I told him, I said, just so you know, me and John decided that we were going to fight each other. And then he was like, no, it can't happen, it can't happen. And I told him, I said that, well, it's John's fault because John went on the record and said that he would fight me. And he was like, no, I feel like yelling at him, you know, it was very stupid for him to do, you know, you guys shouldn't fight each other. And I said, well, I can't be his teammate no more knowing that he said that he would fight me, so I want to fight him now too. And then that was the last time I spoke to him. He was upset about it, but I told him I want to fight him, so.
More people than one can clap.
So your relationship with him is still...
Yeah, I mean, you know, the truth of the matter is, like, when John Jones came to the team, I told Greg, I said, we're going to end up having a fight one day. And Greg was like, no, we're brothers, and that would never happen. If you can't trust your brothers, then who can you trust? And I promise you that would never happen. And if the UFC came to a fight for John having to fight you, then he would have to turn it down because he's the one that came to the team last, and it just would not happen. Just trust me, it won't happen, it won't happen. And when it did happen, he like turned away and said, well, I don't want nothing to do with it. But it's like, you're the one, the reason why it happened, because he was the one who brought John Jones on the team.
All right, okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And fire away, guys. Let's get in line and ask some questions. Don't be shy. You guys didn't travel that far. We came a long way to get your questions. They're going to be good. Let's clarify one thing, though, and you talked about this the last time we were in Denver, I believe, Rashad. It's not that John said he's going to fight you. It's how he did it. If he would have pulled you aside and said, hey, we're at the top. Let's do this for our families. You know, you'll always be my brother. You'll always be one of my training partners. I respect you, but we need to do this for the division, for the sport, for ourselves, for our families. You know, let's decide, even though we're teammates, let's take a break for 6 months, train wherever we're going to train, fight for the title, and then be teammates again. You would have probably been okay with that. It's the fact that he, in your eyes, he kind of came out publicly and said, oh, yeah, I'll fight him, and that's what you felt was disrespectful. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. You know, and like when he did the area.
So it's not that you wouldn't fight him.
Nah,
you just wanted him to approach it with class.
Yeah, if he would have said that, you know, he wants to fight me, then we would have been like, okay, cool, you know, because I mean, we fight each other all the time in practice, but it's going to be different. But if he just would have came straight out and said how he felt and what he really wanted to do, then it would have been different. But like when you kind of do something sneaky along the lines and being like, you know, have me going around and be like, no, I would never fight John Jones. You know, we're like brothers. And then all of a sudden he does an interview with Ariel Helwani and then being like, well, yeah, I will fight him. And then, you know, Dana White's making me like public enemy #1, saying like, you know, what Rashad has done is he put himself in a situation where we can't have him fight because he doesn't want to fight his teammates. So I look like an idiot, and then he looks like a hero, and then it's like, okay, I see how it is. You know, so it's just grimy stuff like that, man.
I mean, it wasn't a title fight. I believe it was Evan Dunham and Tyson Griffin. And they had trained at Couture forever together. And so what Evans said is, hey, I'm going to take this fight. I'm going to go down the street. I'm going to train somewhere else. As soon as I'm done, I'll be back at Couture. But we're going to fight because this is where we are on the ladder right now. It's something we talk about all the time, but more clarifies what you kind of talked about there.
I mean, you know, what it does is it sheds lights on a situation where, like there's a lot of people that don't want to fight their teammate, you know, and I heard you know, Josh Koscheck says, you know, we would never fight, you know, Fitch because, you know, the difference with Jackson's is that those guys are not really brothers and they just come into training camp. And I beg to differ because, you know, some of us was not living there, but at the same time, we spent tremendous amount of time with each other, you know, and we did have those bonds, and we didn't have to train every single day together. But when you're spending and you're training 6 months out of a year together, that's still a lot of time, you know, and that's what we would do. So it's going to be a lot of people from other teams are going to have to fight each other. It just shouldn't be, you know, Jackson's guys. It should just be everybody. If they're going to make people fight each other from other teams, everybody should have to fight each other.
Hey, headliner tomorrow night, Mark Munoz fought Aaron Simpson. They grew up wrestling together. They're like brothers. They fought. They said it was the most difficult thing they ever did, but they did it. So that's that. We'll move on from the John Jones, Rashad Evans, because I have a feeling sometime, somewhere inside the octagon, they will fight for the light heavyweight title. Next question over here.
How's it going, Rashad? Goldie, fucking legend. I have two questions, actually. The first one, sorry, I am going to go back to Jones for a second. Jones-Machida is coming up. If you take the belt out of the equation, which of the two guys would you prefer to fight? Would you prefer to fight Jones because of what's gone on between the two of you, or would you rather a revenge fight against Machida?
I'd rather fight Jones. I mean, you know, that's...
And then Lyoto right afterwards, right?
Yeah, right after.
Would it be more of a sort of a vengeance type thing, or just...
well, it's your only career loss, right?
Which one, for Machida or for Jones?
Jones, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? It's like just to be competitive, because like I watched him when he first came into the Jackson team, and we were always kind of we always try to size each other up a little bit, you know. So it's interesting to see how good he's really gotten, because I watch him and he looks like he's gotten a lot better, but I want to see how he feels, you know. I want to see if he really is good as everybody makes him look.
My other question is on Diaz. Just to get a comment from both of you on this wonderful, crazy phenomenon that is Nick Diaz.
Well, there's a clone named Nate. that same phenomenon.
Nah, Diaz is a man, you know. I love his fighting spirit, you know, and that his mindset, that's hard to really, you know, that's really hard to put in any kind of fighter. And he's just a born fighter. He just goes out there and he's just like pissed off at the world when he goes out there and fight. And I kind of like that, man. I kind of dig that about him, man. But he's going against my boy GSP, so I got to stay with the home team.
You know, as far as the Diaz, they're real. That's that plain and simple. There's no bullshit with them. It is what it is. They're 209. Everybody lately is like, you can't call it the Stockton slap, but it kind of is. They get way out, and then but it's that hip turn, and Rashad knows it's that hip turn right at the end. And he said, well, look at his face. Yeah, I saw BJ's face, and I saw Marcus Davis, one of my best friends. I saw Marcus get beat up by Nate. It is, though, because it's not a pure boxing. It's almost you're out here, and everything's out here with Richard Perez. 209 is represented very well. They love to fight. They train every day. There's Cesar Gracie black belts. I mean, you know, Nate might still be a brown belt, but he'd be a black belt anywhere else. And they'll bring the fight to anybody. And that's why I'm so excited for the matchup between Nick Diaz and George St. Pierre. I love George. He's a great champion. But Nick Diaz will bring the fight to GSP.
And a quick comment as well. Seems like a good move for Nate down to lightweight after the Gomi fight as well. Should he probably stay there?
I'll tell you what, if ever there was going to be two brothers who truly would fight in the octagon for real, it would be those two. Big Nog, Little Nog be like, no, no, no. Nate would be like, hell yeah. And Nick would be like, I'm going to beat the shit out of you, little brother. Yeah, those two would fight.
No, they'll fight each other.
For sure.
Yeah. I bet they fight each other in practice. Like, if it gets too crazy in practice, I bet they get crazy and they beat the hell out of each other.
I can hear Mr. and Mrs. Diaz yelling at him at 5 years old, you know. You guys cut that out. No, he's not bleeding yet. We're not done yet, Mom. Then we'll be in for dinner. But they're fighters, man. And I'm glad that Nick's back and he put on a great show.
Thanks a million.
Thank you. Cheers. Next one over here. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, guys. talking about tomorrow night, a little while ago, the card has come under a lot of criticism. I don't know if you've heard it, but over here as well, about the fact that it's not the strongest card the UFC could have put out. And sort of going back last week to the last event, it almost seems like the UFC was jumping and not promoting this one. They automatically went to San Jose next week, all the way through. This one didn't even get mentioned. And I just want to get your take on it, because, you know, it was a lot. I think 137 was rumoured to be over here. Then they got a massive backlash on Twitter and all the forums and stuff. And then obviously this one came out of the blue. But it just feels like, again, I mean, I went the last one when you were over here back at UFC 120, I think it was. Dana was asked at the Expo about the fact that, you know, the lack of sort of title fights, top contenders, and here we are a year later and the same questions. I mean, guys,
now you look at me.
I'll say.
No, I got it.
I'll tell you
I got it. Well, I'll tell you, first of all, from a promotional point of view, what's difficult, because it's confusing to our fans in North America, and when we do the what's coming up, like we did on the pay-per-view, which what you're referring to, is because it's so confusing, because it's on pay-per-view here, but not at home, and then it's live on Spike for free at home, and we run a lot of commercials. That's kind of why we left it out, no more, no less. Every fighter who's going to fight tomorrow night has worked his ass off to fight in the octagon.
No question
absolutely,
at all.
100%. And the beauty of it is, because trust me, I've been very blessed to do a ton of fight cards with Joe Rogan, and there's some that you look at and you just go, and they end up being the best fight you have seen in forever. So don't think that there's not going to be guys tomorrow who won't leave. No, and I'm not, and I agree with you that
it's like, I mean, the O2 sold out. You know, last year we were here.
Absolutely.
Birmingham, I saw tweeted it's broken all the ticket
I just saw that as well.
And again, and it's like everybody, doesn't matter what they do. You know, you're always going to sell out over here. So it's like, well, you know, when are we going to start seeing some of the top 5 fighters like Rashad, like the likes of GSP, Nick Diaz, and all that, fighting over in the UK, or are we going to get it?
Well, we will, and you know, we try. It's a tough mix, because you're trying to bring top 5 guys, you're trying to bring great main events. At the same time, we're trying to bring you guys some of your own stars too. Michael Bisping is great. Mike will keep winning, fight for the title in London someday. There's nothing better than that. That's what should happen, because Michael's from over here, and so it's a juggling. It's a little bit of a juggling match.
Well, that was going to be.
You know, yeah, I could say, do you want to see Lyoto Machida, or do you want to see Terry Edom? Well, you know, most people say, well, Lyoto Machida, man, a former champion, but Terry Edom is your guy. He's from here in the UK, so having him have the opportunity to fight is good as well. Marshall, you know, Marshall does a great job as our UK president. Dana White loves fans all around the world. He knows what you guys have given us, and we're just trying to give great fight cards every time we go out.
Well, that was going to be my next question, actually, Rashad. Do you think where do you think Michael Bisping is as far as close to #1 contenders, you know, against Silva? Because
he's got Mayhem coming up, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So if he wins that, because Silva's not got many more people to beat, is he?
Yeah, not many. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really not that many people besides that. I mean, I would say Mike is up there. You know, Mike has definitely worked his ass off to get to where he's at, and he's been consistent and he's been winning. So I would say that he's got to be getting close. You know, I mean, he's very popular. He's shown tremendous amount of improvement in his game. You know, he can do takedowns and stuff like that, and his ground game is looking like it's on par with his stand-up game. So I think that he's got to be getting up there. But I think a big win over somebody like Mayhem would definitely catapult them. You know, because as much as you guys don't believe it, it's the fans who have most of the power. When you guys really are impressed by somebody and you guys are really calling for the fights to happen, those are the fights that Joe Silva and those guys start to look at to make happen.
I mean, you're looking at a guy in Thiago Alves who's on the main card tomorrow night, who did fight for the title, been working diligently with Mike Dolce. He weighed in before he even jumped on the plane to come over here at 184. He's fighting at 70. I mean, he's a beast. I mean, here's a guy who might be right back in line to fight George St. Pierre. You know, against Papia Betty, who's supposed to be, you know, after Gustafsson, Sweden's next great hope. So, I mean, there's a lot of interesting matchups as you go up and down the card. The thing is that when a guy comes over here and he says, all right, well, they're not giving me a lot of love, that's usually when that fighter fights the most entertaining. And that's the one thing I've learned over the years, is that, you know, when I'm not so sure what he's going to do, usually he gets in there and puts on a huge show. And that's one I'm bummed about, too. We went back to Paul Taylor, Anthony Njokuani. That's a fight with a great Brit and a great striker. Those are two guys that are going to just kick each other in the head for 15 straight minutes. I'm really bummed out we lost that fight because that's a great fight on the card.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Next up.
What's up, Rashad? You all right?
What's up, man?
Pound for pound, who's the better trash talker, you or Chael Sonnen?
Whoa,
Chael, I gotta say Chael Sonnen. Chael adds another element that I do. You know, Chael like adds like a WWE side. See, if I did that, I'd feel corny. Like if I started, you know, going to WWE, I'll feel corny. Besides, like everybody would really, really hate me. See, he can get away with it, but I can't. if I did the same thing that he did, oh my God, I'd be having people like trying to blow up my house or something.
What, are you loved now?
What's that?
Do you get a lot of love right now?
Do I get love? Nah, hey, in the UK, I get a lot of love. Cheer now, but hey, when they show me the Jumbotron tomorrow, don't you dare boo.
All right, thank you.
Chael could trash talk in a 5th grade class.
Yeah, Chael's but I don't think he was always like that. He just kind of like picked it up in the last.
Just all of a sudden he went,
he just kind of said, you know, I'm going to start opening my mouth and talking.
And it's worked.
It's definitely worked, man.
Very well. Next question, sir.
Hey, Rashad, what's up?
What's up, man?
What's your thoughts on Nate Marquardt and how he was sort of cut from the UFC? And do you think there's a possibility that he could have work his way back in? Or, and second of all, was your mum called up, not thinking there's a time difference yet?
Because
apparently, I think last time she called up, she didn't get
I haven't talked to her mom in a couple of days. I told her before I was going to the UK, so she understood this time. But she don't be caring. But still, she's probably still try to call me later on today or something. I don't know. Rashad,
what would she say?
Rashad, where you at? Birmingham. Rashad, I thought you said you was in the UK. You in Alabama? I'm like, Mom, damn. But what was the question again?
You know what? We're gonna do a Q&A. We're gonna do a Q&A with Rashad.
How do you think he was treated? Like, you know, obviously he let a company down on the day before the event.
Yeah, I mean, I think the UFC handled the situation the way they felt they needed to handle the situation. When it comes to fairness and stuff, I think Lorenzo and Dana and those guys give people the fair shake. As far as him coming back to the UFC, you know, you put a couple great fights together again, and you get people talking about you. I'm pretty sure they'll let him come back.
All right, well, cheers for that. Thanks a lot.
If Tito can come back, anybody can come back. Next question over here.
Hi, Rashad. I'm not sure if you know, but Evans is a Welsh name, and being Welsh myself, you know, we don't have a Welsh fighter in the UFC at present, so you're basically flying the flag for the Welsh nation. And
so I'm carrying the Welsh flag.
So
okay.
Basically, I got this spear now.
You got the family flag, huh?
Yeah, the Welsh flag.
Oh, okay, okay.
I would love to get a picture of you just holding it up, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
You could do that.
All right, cool. Definitely, man. I'll definitely get a picture like that.
So you come and... Anyone want to take
Yes.
Yeah, come through.
You've opened Pandora's box, sir.
Come on up.
Now we can't say no.
Come on.
Come on up. And guess who gets to be the cameraman? And they say, I'm not multi-dimensional. Of course. Very nice.
Hey.
That's man.
Thank you. I
I hope
appreciate
the
it.
one of me turned out nice too for you. You got it, buddy. Cheers, mate. To the Welsh! Go ahead, bud.
Hi, Rashad. Hi, Goldie. I was in Vegas for '98 when you fought Machida, and I couldn't believe when Machida won, the crowd was just, it was electric, and I couldn't believe that a Brazilian had knocked out an American, and the Americans were cheering for Machida. I couldn't understand that. And then I was actually at 114 as well. So I'm obviously, that was good luck, but the other one was bad luck. But again, the same thing.
Where was 114?
Vegas.
Rampage.
Yeah.
Okay. I
would
remember
say it was
that number.
10 to 1 Rampage fans to Rashad fans. And I was just wondering, does it sort of get to you at all? That
No, he's just misunderstood.
I just don't quite understand where this sort of Because you know, you're an enigmatic guy. You seem a nice guy, and I think we appreciate that. I just don't see why the American fans just don't seem to get it.
I don't know. I think it's just because I don't know. I think it's because
you think it's because you're handsome?
I think so. I think they're hating. They're hating because they hate how beautiful I am. Nah, you know what? I think it's because I beat a lot of their favorite fighters, And there has to be a good guy and there has to be a bad guy, so why not make me the bad guy? But I used to get upset about it, and I used to be like, man, I really want to show these guys the kind of person that I am, but I don't think they're really interested. I think they're interested in just like thinking the way they want to think about me. So I don't get bothered about it no more. I figure like I go in there and just do my thing and let my fighting speak for itself and just be me all the way. I can't stop being who I am, Like when I go inside the cage, people are like, oh, you're so cocky when you fight. And I'm like, shit, I gotta be cocky when I fight because the guy across the cage from me, he's thinking that he's gonna beat me and he thinks he's gonna destroy me. So I gotta let him think that I know something that he don't know. I gotta make him think that, when I step into the cage, I'm better than him. And if he looks at me and think like, wow, he looked very confident, then he's already second guessing himself. And that's what it's about, making him second guess himself.
It goes all the way back to you and Matt Hughes on the show.
Yeah,
right?
I think Matt Hughes is the one who got me with that.
Yeah.
It's the stigma that stuck.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. And people's first impressions of you is just of that. Matt Hughes says that, I'm a cocky fighter. Then after that, no matter what I've done, I've always been cocky, and I can do anything, and I reinforce everything Matt Hughes said about me. So,
but cocky and confident is different than disrespectful, and I think you'd be the first to say that you're not disrespectful of your opponents.
No, I mean, like,
You'll have a little fun with them, but
yeah, I have fun with them.
At the end of the day, they're also a man who's stepping into a cage with one other guy with these little gloves on, closing the little gate, and then you fight. It's hard not to respect a person who has the guts to do what you do for a living.
Exactly. I mean, when it's all said and done, I'm always nice to my opponent, and I'm always cool with my opponent, and I don't like, spit on him or nothing crazy like that. I don't say nothing too bad about him. I don't talk about his mama too bad. I'm pretty fair, but I don't know. I am a little cocky sometimes, though. But I gotta be.
I just wanted to give a shout out because obviously I've been to Vegas a few times. I've met some of the Fight Club members out there. And I just want to say the Fight Club is a very worthwhile thing to be involved with. People like Smitty, Rob unsaid, there's loads of guys here who are absolutely solid. Find any of us if you need any help, anything like that.
Awesome.
We're around.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, and a big round of applause to you guys in the Fight Club. Like I said before, I mean, you're the foundation of the fans, and Rachel Sutton and her staff do a great job. But the UFC Fight Club, UFCFightClub.com, get involved, man. It gets you the best tickets, get you access to things like this, and truly, it just is a way for you to say thank you to us, and we want to say thank you more so, and we want to give you guys some great experiences. So. You're the foundation, man, all around the world, including right here in Birmingham. Next question over here.
Somebody asked a question earlier about Nate coming back into the UFC, and he said if Tito can get back in the UFC, then anybody can. Do they ever think we'll see Paul Daly back in the UFC?
Dana's actually talked about that a little bit publicly. Ask Joe, he's right there. No, you know what? I mean, Dana's talked about that before. And people make mistakes. Paul knows he made a mistake. And he knows he was disrespectful to his opponent and the sport. And that didn't fly very well with Dana, and justifiably so. But, he also made a mistake. People make mistakes. They're human beings. It's up to Dana at the end of the day. It's up to Frank and Lorenzo. But, if you can go through time and look at different things and work on your relationship, yeah, there's a chance of that happening. Like I said, how many public feuds have Tito and Dana broken up like 5 times? If they were married, they'd be like, they wouldn't know what to do with their bank accounts right now because there'd be so much money going back and forth with all the divorces. It's crazy.
I think it's been long enough now. I know there's been a lot worse things done by a lot more fighters than what Paul Daly did, I think. And it's time, Joe. Speak to Dana. Let's see him back in the UFC. Just one more question. Rashad, obviously a fighter's career lifespan is not that long. Do you ever think I know you do some sort of like commentating for ESPN on, what do you see yourself doing after fighting? Do you want to stay in the fight game, and what do you think your role is going to be?
Yeah, I would love to stay in a fight game, do something like, being an analyst or something, working with whatever MMA show whatever it may come about. But I like doing other stuff too, pretty much anything. I've been trying to work on some businesses on the side and just trying to just develop myself outside of fighting. I wouldn't mind even doing like movies or doing anything like that.
Singer, rapper.
Could do a movie with Rampage in the 18 too.
Yes.
maybe Rashad could be the villain. Maybe Rashad could be the villain in that one.
Nah, I don't know. I don't even know how long I want to fight anymore. I just play it. Every year I kind of reevaluate the situation. I already been fighting for a long time, since 2005. So who knows how long I'll be, finding fighting interesting. I'm not one of those fighters that want to fight until I can't fight no more. When it stops being fun, then I want to just be done with it.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Over here.
Hi, guys. Chael Sonnen says a lot of shit, right? So
that would be correct.
Obviously.
Yeah, that would be an accurate statement.
Recently, he's been saying a lot of shit about the light heavyweight division, saying it's a bit of a joke of a division, saying it's the worst division in the UFC. I just want to know what Rashad thinks about that.
I know that Chael don't really believe that. I mean, I think that he just says some stuff to get some kind of reaction. I really don't think that he thinks it's that bad. If he thought it was that bad, then he would come up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a lot that can be said about 185, and there's a lot can be said about a lot of different divisions, but you really never know until you're in that division. And if he come up to 205 and start putting in work, then, whatever he said was valid. But if he's just going to see where he's at 185 and say whatever you want to say, then I guess he can say it, but he's not proving anything.
One more question for Goldie. There's been a new hiring by the UFC with regards announcing, and I just wonder, is that going to affect what we see? Are we going to see less of yourself and Rogan, or just more of other people?
Basically the master plan is that with our new deal with Fox and FX and Fuel, is we're going to have a bunch more kick-ass shows. So we're going to go from about 24 or 25 a year up towards 35 a year. And Lorenzo Fertitta said at the original press conference at Fox that Goldie and Rogan would still be the A-team. They do the Fox shows, the pay-per-views, the ultimate finales, but we were going to have to bring in some new talent, and the first guy they've brought in is John Anik, who's a great guy. He's worked with Rashad. He's extremely talented. He's very good. He's very passionate. It's going to be a blast having the opportunity, to work alongside. But basically, he and someone else, kind of back when we were doing the WEC, they'll have that broadcast team. Joe and I will continue to be able to do our thing. Thank you very much. And it's a welcome addition, I mean, I got a family. I got 2 kids. My son's playing in a hockey tournament in Chicago this weekend. It's killing me right now. I think they're on the ice. Probably, I don't know the time change. Right now, playing in their first game. But Frank and Lorenzo and Dana have been very great to both Joe and I. And I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be doing the majority of the shows I've done for a long time.
That's great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for asking. Thank you. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. And J.A. is very talented. You're going to love having him as part of the UFC family. Next question over here.
Hey, Rashad, I got to watch you fight Chuck Liddell a couple years ago. It's an honor to see you here. 2 questions. First is, how do you guys feel about Carlos Condit losing his title fight after stepping up and then GSP getting hurt? Feels like he kind of got screwed over on that deal.
Well, I mean, he got put in that position because the situation called for it, and it was because they took Diaz out of the fight. So I think in some respects it's a bit of a letdown that he lost that position, but at the same time, he has to be happy with the fact that he was the first on call when that situation did go down. And like I said in the interview the other day, that means that he's pretty close to getting a title shot. So he win another fight, then he's going to be in title contention and probably get a title fight. So, I mean, I wouldn't be too upset because he knew the situation when he took the fight. It wasn't like, he was the first one picked in the first place. He was picked after the situation happened with Diaz pulling out.
What it really comes down to is, and Carlos is right, like Rashad said, knocking on the door. What it really comes down to, though, is it was supposed to be George and Nick. And then the co-main event was BJ and Carlos, and if Carlos won that fight, he'd probably fight for the title. Now, if Carlos wins his next fight, he'll probably fight for the title. So while Carlos was man enough to step up and say, hey, Dana, whatever you need me to do, you need me to fight George for the title, I'm ready to go now. It kind of goes back to what originally was the game plan before Nick overslept or whatever he did for the press conferences. I don't know
he kept it too real. That's what happened.
Exactly.
He kept it too real.
Yeah, exactly. He was keeping it too real at 209. He was trying to use his old brick cell phone or something. So I think in the long run, it's frustrating for Carlos. But Carlos, like Rashad said, knows he's probably one win away from fighting for the UFC welterweight title against either Nick Diaz or George St. Pierre. Good spot to be in right now.
And since you've become a UFC star, Rashad, who is the one person you've met that you've been starstruck by? Movie
Me.
star, actor, rock star?
I don't know, man. I really, let me think here. Who have I been starstruck by? Man, I really can't, I don't know. I don't really get starstruck too much. I don't think I've ever been starstruck. Oh, I know I was starstruck by. I met Denzel Washington one time. I was starstruck by Denzel. I didn't know what to say. He was just real cool. He was like cooler than I thought he was. He was just like, yeah, okay. You a fighter then, huh? Okay. And I didn't really know what to say to him, man. So I was just like, you know, like a little kid. Wanted to take his picture, but then I was afraid to ask him, so I just like walked away real fast.
I remember when Sylvester Stallone was at one of the fights, and it was at the Palms, and Joe was interviewing him, and I swear Joe was absolutely starstruck, and he doesn't get starstruck. It was like the whole time, and I was just sitting there the same thing, like, oh my God, there's Rocky Balboa, like he's 2-1 against Apollo Creed. No, it was pretty sick, man. You know, it was awesome. It's fun though. You know what? It's fun meeting these guys. It's fun seeing them come to the show. You know. Justin Bieber was there the other day. No, I wasn't starstruck, just for the record. But it's fun to see how, like, these people are real people. I think that's the one thing that Rashad and I are blessed with that situation is they're very real people. I mean, I did the Shaq versus show on ABC, and every time Shaq be like, Gordy, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to fight. I want Chuck Dana. Let's come right now. We'll fight Hongman Choi. I'm going to fight in the octagon. No, for sure. I'm going to fight Brock Lesnar. No, I'm not. He kicked my ass. All right, Gordy. I love you, man. Love what you're doing. Peace. So it's fun to see that. It's fun to do stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. Thank you. Who's up next?
Hey, I got 2 questions. First of all, what's your thoughts on fighters that sell a fight with their mouth, like Chael Sonnen, getting pushed ahead of fighters that deserve a title shot, like John Fitch or Rashad?
Joe? I don't really think that happens. Honestly, I don't. I think, you know what it really comes down to? It comes down to Dana really, as Rashad said earlier, he has the pulse of the fans on his mind. And he does listen to you guys in social media, and he does appreciate your hard-earned money that you spend to come to the shows or watch a pay-per-view. And so he wants to put on the matchups that he believes the fans want to see, loudmouth or not, being able to sell it marketable. That's just a bonus if it happens, but I really do believe that, you know, Dana White works very closely with Joe Silva and with Lorenzo and Frank and trying to give the fans the matchups that they want to see. Doesn't matter if the guy's funny or not. You're not going to get a whole lot of funny out of Nick Diaz. He's not going to have me cracking up anytime soon, but he can fight. So I think that's it more than, you know, okay, so Chael can talk a great fight, at least in my opinion.
No, that's exactly it. He's giving you the fights that people want to see. I mean, that's the part that stays pure about the sport is the fact that, you know, the president and the people who put the fights together, they're fight fans. And they know what they want to see, and they know what you guys want to see, and they make those matchups happen. I mean, sometimes you do have a guy like John Fitch who you know, he may get passed over or may not get the fight that, you know, people think he should have, but, you know, John put together an impressive fight, get people talking about him, then people want to see him fight for the title, and then he gets the title shot.
Sweet. And secondly, I actually quit my job to get the time off to come here.
Oh, shit. Oh, man.
Is there any chance I could get a backstage pass for tomorrow night?
You might be able to, but it doesn't pay anything, so I don't think it's going to do you a lot of good. No, I don't think so.
Okay,
sorry.
Thank you.
I'll tell you the greatest example of what this gentleman brought up, though, is that, remember Gray Maynard, Frankie Edgar, BJ Penn, the whole thing, and Gray was supposed to be next up, and then Gray had what Dana thought was a lackluster performance against Nate Diaz, Fairfax, Virginia, and he said, all right, you know what, Gray, you're not going to get the title shot, and I'm going to give it to Frankie Edgar, and then Frankie Edgar went to Abu Dhabi and shocked the whole MMA world and beat BJ Penn, and then did it again, and he's still the champion. So, again, you know, that's an example of where, you know, Dana's just trying to get the pulse of the fans, and little did we know that Frankie Edgar would beat Baby J, the prodigy BJ Penn, in Abu Dhabi to become the new lightweight champion. Next question over here.
What's up, Goldie?
How are you, bud?
Oh, not bad. What's the craziest fight you ever called?
Oh, man. You know, Pat Barry, Czech Congo didn't suck. That was kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy.
Pete Sell, Scott Smith with that craziness.
Korean
at the
Zombie?
end. You know, Korean Zombie, absolutely. You know what? Probably every fight Leonard Garcia's ever been in. Been one of the craziest fights I've ever called. What else has been great? Every fight Rashad Evans has ever had has been the craziest fight. No, you know what? I mean,
He just saying it because I'm here.
you know, Stephan Bonner, Forrest Griffin, right? Stephan Bonner, Forrest Griffin might truly have been the craziest fight because of everything that was on the line, and they just stood there and they went back and forth. But yeah, Garcia and you know everything Leonard does is absolute craziness. Those would be just a few. I get asked that a lot, but there's been just a ton of crazy stuff that's happened. I mean, John Jones in Shogun was crazy because I never expected that to be such a dominant performance. You know, hey, and who can forget? You know, Gabriel Gonzaga, Crow Cop and Crow Cop, boom. So there's been a ton of them. I've been blessed, but I would say simply, pretty much every time Leonard Garcia walks in, I'm pretty guaranteed there's gonna be crazy shit that happens.
Rashad, you're known for doing a lot of impersonations. What's your best one?
His mother.
Yeah, it's
when
gotta
she's
be-
not on
it's
the
gotta be
phone
my-
waiting for you, that is.
It's got to be my mom. But Mike Tyson, I love Mike Tyson.
Let's hear it.
That's Mike Tyson. I really never came. The first time I came to Birmingham before, it's an all right city, but, you know, I wish there was a little bit something to do at nighttime because at nighttime I get a little crazy.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we got three right here. Let's fire through them real quick, and then we got to clear the stage for the weigh-ins. Fire away.
Hi, Rashad. I'm from Scotland, and Evans is a Scottish name. Nah, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I've got two questions.
He's going to come out with like 18 flags. He's going to be worn out in his next fight, bringing in all the flags.
I was chatting to Matt Mitchell in England last time we were over here, and he was saying that when they did the Ultimate Fighter, the editing made him look a bit crazy. Did you think that when you've done it the two times, the editing was realistic?
You really were an asshole.
He was really crazy, you know. They didn't edit him to look like that. He was really acting like that. He actually acted a little bit worse, and I don't even know why, because I know him now, like outside the show, and he's not like that. But I think he did that just to try to like play mind games and whatnot. But he ended up coming across looking crazy. But he did really act like that.
And second question: out of the people that have retired, all the fighters, what fighter would you like to have fought, and which one are you glad you haven't got to?
All the fighters that retired, I wish I would have fought Randy Couture. Nice. I love Randy Couture. It would have been a hard fight because I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. But just the competitive side, he was such a great competitor. I would have loved to fight against him.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Hi guys. Next fight, who do you think will be your next opponent? Do you think it will be either Henderson or Shogun?
I don't know, man. I would like to fight either one of those guys. I love Hendo, but you know, Shogun would be fun to fight. You know, Hendo said one of the most favorite comments that I always think about. You know, I looked at Hendo and I was like, man, Hendo, you're so small, man. How do you do it? He says, you know what? He said, it's not how big you are out here, it's how big you are in here. He said, I'm really big in here. And I always remember that. So whenever time I look at Hendo and watch him fight, and I see him put in work, and I'm like, man, this dude he's a man. But I would love to fight him too.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Final question. Go ahead, sir. Don't mess it up.
I was wondering, how would Anderson Silva do against John Jones?
I hope someday we find out.
I think, honestly, that. Man, it'd be tough to call. You know why? I would say, I would say Anderson to win. But I think he'll catch John standing up because I think John does a lot of crazy stuff, but fundamentally sometimes he does it just to do it. But I think Anderson has the reason, like Anderson fundamentally, technically is better in that respect, and I think he'll catch him doing something stupid. If the fight was to go a bit longer and John was using wrestling, then I think the fight may go to John, but for the most part, early out in the fight, I think Anderson to catch John doing something crazy.
All right, final thing. Mike Tyson calls your mom on the telephone. A little bit of the conversation. Final thing, come on.
Who is this? This is Tyson.
Mike, what you want? Well, first of all, I was calling to see if you can put me in contact with Rashad. Well, I don't know where Rashad is. I think he up in Birmingham, Alabama.
Ladies and gentlemen, the former UFC light heavyweight champion of the world, Sugar Rashad Evans. See you top of the hour for your official weigh-ins. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Birmingham.